Hello and welcome to the session. Now let's continue our discussion for remaining topics. So now we will start with abstraction and subsequently we will also do interface. Now what is abstraction? Abstraction is something which is not 100% complete or which is partially complete but not fully complete. That is abstraction. Now let us see some pictures first. Now looking at these pictures, if you see those objects are there but which are not like 100% complete. So if you see the truck where the front part is little bit complete, the tire section is complete but the body is still missing. Now if you see the glass water example, the water is not fully filled or the glass is not full. If you see the construction site, it is not fully completed yet, it is partially here and there it is completed. So this is abstraction. Abstraction means something which is not fully complete. Okay, in terms of Java, an abstract class or an abstract method is something which is not implemented, which is not fully complete. Or if you see abstract class means it is partially implemented class, so it cannot be instantiated. Now we will see why it cannot be instantiated. Or in other words, one or few methods in the class are not implemented, or in other words called as abstract methods. Now what is abstract method? Unimplemented method, no body, just the signature. So an abstract method is something which is having no body, it is just the signature. It is left for the child class to implement it. So we will see how can we use the abstract class and what is the advantage and how can we reuse it in other classes. The abstract method exists in abstract class only. Obviously, when you have an abstract method, your class will become abstract class. Now let us come to this in a bit. Now let us see with an example. Now consider that you have a loan processing section and you can process the loan, you can disperse the amount and all. But now when you are processing the loan, you want to know certain information of the user. For example, any government ID. Now you being a loan processing organization, maybe a bank, you would want this get financial information from a government source so that you verify the source and you say the person is eligible based on some tax returns or whatever. Now that's what is the get financial info method. But now you see, because you don't have access to government resources and all, so you make this particular method as an abstract method because this is not complete. You don't know how to implement it or you don't have resources to implement it. So this is basically abstract method or abstraction. Abstraction means this class has something defined but something abstract, something which is not defined. Now it has other variables like credit score and eligibility. So let's see how it processes the loan and how it's disbursing the amount. So if it sees that the credit score is there, if the credit score for the last, let's say, 5 years, if the credit score for last 5 years at any point of time it is less than 2000, for an example, it is, you have a algorithm which says that you're not eligible for the loan. Right. Now if you are eligible, then you are setting the eligibility equal to true. And how do you disburse the amount? If you are eligible, then only amount is disbursed. Now this is the logic, but the financial info will provide this credit score. Okay, so how to implement that? So now another point here is the class which has abstract method would automatically become an abstract class. So if the class has abstract method, your class, if the method is abstract, if there is a class which is having at least one abstract method, then your class will automatically become abstract class. And how do you mention it? You have to use the keyword called as abstract here. Now let's see how can we reuse this, how can we use this class in other classes. So I have another class, Citibank. So what Citibank does is it extends the abstract class loan processing, and since it has some resources, it has some third party contracts, so they can get the financial info. Now let us see what is happening here. So for now I'm just filling this dummy data credit score for the last 5 years. Okay, now this is where the abstract class method is being implemented. This is basically a parent child concept here. So this is a child class, this is a parent class, and in the parent class there was an abstract method. So in the child class, what you can do is you can override that method. Basically you are doing an overriding method, overriding polymorphism, and you are giving the implementation to that method. That is basically called as implementing the abstract methods in your class. Now this is how one sample implementation, and then you can go ahead and process the get financial info and loan amount. Now here there are a couple of points here. Now now as this so on this one partially implemented class, so it cannot be instantiated. So what happens is, now this is basically an abstract class. Now we know that we can create an class, we can create an object of the class, but the point is we cannot create an object of the abstract class. Why? Because there is one or multiple methods which are not implemented. So if there is an empty method which is not implemented, the method doesn't have any body, then if you create an object of this class and when you call this method, your program will break. Okay, so technically it is not allowed. So we'll see this here. So if you see in this class which extends this abstract class, in the main method, now I am saying loan processing loan processing equal to new loan processing. Now since this is an abstract class, the creating an object of the abstract class is not allowed. Having a variable of abstract class is allowed, but creating an object of the abstract class is not allowed. Let us see what it is saying. It is saying it is an abstract, so cannot be instantiated. So that proves that we cannot create an object of the abstract class. Now let us see what is happening here. Now on the left hand side, if you see, I have created an object of the child class, like Citibank, loan processing Citibank, loan equal to new loan processing Citibank. Now since this class has implemented the abstract method, but technically speaking, this is also an independent class which has some of the methods, and it has extended some methods from a parent class which happens to be an abstract class. So this is allowed, this is correct. So variable on the left hand side is of child class is equal to new object of the child class. This is perfectly fine. This should run. Now let us run it. Right. So required credit for the score for this thing, eligible for loan, and amount is disbursed. Now one more thing here to note is the other part. Okay, so variable left hand side is variable of the abstract class is equal to right hand side is equal to object of the child class. So if you see here, loan processing is equal to new loan processing Citibank. So this is also allowed. Why? Because if you see here, as I said, having a variable of abstract class is allowed. So having a variable of abstract class, and since this Citibank class is implementing all the unimplemented methods, so object of and also Citibank class is extending the parent class which is abstract class. So this is also allowed. So this should also run and you will get the output. Right, so eligible for loan and loan amount is disbursed. So this is allowed, this is also perfectly correct. Now let us see vehicle example. So vehicle example, if you see, there is one abstract method and there are no other methods. So in an abstract class, you can have zero abstract method, you can have any abstract methods, you can have full methods. The full method means this is a full method, this is implemented. You see there's a body for this, so this is implemented. So abstract class has an ignite engine, and in the vehicle class, if you see, it has extended the uh, vehicle class, and it has given a body to the unimplemented method or abstract method. Now these are other methods, separate methods in the vehicle motorcycle. So I can create that and I can create an object here. So here I have created an object of the a variable of the child class and object of the child class. So this is perfectly correct and this is allowed. Let's run this and see what happens. Right, so in its Spark increase speed, decrease speed. So this is perfect, this is allowed, and this is correct. Okay, now another point here is unimplemented method. So no body and signature left for the child class to implement it. So abstract methods are supposed to be implemented by the child class, and abstract method exists in abstract class only. If your class has if your class has at least one abstract method, then your class becomes abstract class. That is mandatory. Now let us see what is abstract class. So abstract class is basically which contains abstract method, but on a vice versa, it may or may not contain abstract method. So if you see, let's see for this example. I will just comment it out, and I will just comment it out. Let me just comment it out. Yeah. So now let me just comment it out. Right. So now this is an abstract class, which is correct. And there is no abstract method. So technically speaking, abstract class cannot, can, may or may not have abstract method. This is also allowed. Now, what is the use of an abstract class which does not have any abstract method? So now, now earlier we have seen that we cannot create an instance of the abstract class. So for this reason, for this kind of reason, that you don't want to allow creation an object of your class into other class, you make your class as abstract. So that means you cannot create an instance. So let other class to do their own work and maybe reutilize the methods, but do not allow to create an instance of the abstract class. So that is why you put an abstract keyword there. Abstract class may or may not contain abstract method. It cannot be instantiated. That is the reason, one of the reason for security purpose. Child class must implement all the abstract methods. This is interesting. Otherwise, child class also becomes an abstract class. Now let us see with an example. Now let us see this vehicle class. So what I'm doing is I'm also creating one more abstract method. Right, so there's an abstract method here. Now if you see, this class is having two abstract methods, and since this class is extending an abstract class, it is mandatory that this class has to implement all the abstract methods from the parent class. Okay, one more time. Since this class extends the abstract class, and in that abstract class there are two abstract methods, but unfortunately only one is implemented. So this class, if you see, it is giving a red. Why? Because there is one method which is not implemented. Okay, now there can be two solutions for this. One, let me just comment it out. Okay, one is you provide the implementation of other method in this class. So what I mean by that is you provide implementation to this method, the abstract method, in your class, and you say public void this thing and override. So this is one way to resolve this red line, because it is a compilation thing. So either you can do is you can provide implementation to the all the abstract methods from the parent class or from the abstract class. Other thing what you can do is, let's say you don't want to implement this. Okay, so what can be done is your class will become an abstract class. Your class will become an abstract class. Your class will become an abstract class. So obviously, now once your class is an abstract class, you cannot create an instance of this class. But the thing is, you don't want to implement all the methods, so this is also possible. This can be called as abstract class chaining also, because we are creating a chain of abstract class, but we are not implementing all the methods. So this is one example. Now obviously, now this vehicle motorcycle is abstract class. So if somebody wants to use this in their class, then they have to implement the all the abstract methods in all the chain. So if this class has any abstract method, or this class any abstract method, all the things has to be implemented in the other class. So this is basically abstract class mechanism. Okay, so child class must implement all the abstract method or methods. Okay, some of the tricky question in interview: can abstract class can have non-abstract methods? Okay, so we have seen here, let's say this one. So this is an abstract method, this is a non-abstract method, right? Abstract class can have non-abstract method also. Abstract class can have abstract method also, but nothing is mandatory. Can abstract class have final method? So Final method is just another method. It is just that final method cannot be overridden in the child class. So answer to the second question is yes. Abstract class can have final method. Now third question, can abstract class can have constructor? Yes, abstract class is a class, so it can definitely have a constructor. But as I said, abstract class cannot be instantiated. So abstract class constructor obviously you cannot call. So answer to the question is yes, but it may not have much useful application. Question number 4, can abstract class can have static method? Yes, abstract class can have static method, but how do you call a static method? You have to use the class name dot method name. So that is abstraction. Okay, now let us see interface. So interface is also another interesting topic, and it is basically little extension of the abstract class. So what it says, interface is basically 100% abstraction, right? So in an interface, everything is an abstract. Let us see at this picture. Now if you see, this is just a design, okay, and it just says that how the behavior should be of a car or of a mobile. Okay, so mobile has a screen and some buttons to turn on and off. Car has some wheels and some mechanism to increase speed and decrease speed, so some kind of an interface, right? So what is an interface? Interface is something which is totally incomplete, okay, or you can say it is 100% abstract class. 100% abstract means all the methods are abstract. Okay, so no method is implemented or all methods are abstract. That is why you call it as abstract. That is why you call it as interface. Example, interface. So interface obviously cannot be instantiated because there is no method which is 100% complete, right? So if you cannot create an instance of the abstract class, then obviously you cannot create an instance of the interface. Variables declared inside an interface are always public, static, and final. Why? Because interface is something which is totally open to everyone. They can implement it, they can reuse it, they can do whatever with the interface. So all the attributes or all the variables in an interface are always public, static, and final. And one more thing is, all the variables inside an interface must be initialized. Since it is a final variable, so we have to initialize that variable whenever it is declared, whenever it is defined. So we have to initialize it. Let's see with an example interface. So if you see here, I have this package called as package 22 interface, and I have this mobile, which is an interface. If you see the I letter here. So what is an interface? So it's basically an interface where all the methods, if you see, all the methods are just the signature. There is no body, or we can say all the methods are abstract, right? And all the methods are public. Now there's a variable here, number of buttons, let's say mobile. So now all the variables are always public, static, and final. Whatever variable you take, even if you don't mention static or final, it will be always static and final. So obviously, how do you access it? You access it by class name dot static variable name. Now since this is 100% not defined, since this is not 100% complete, this is 100% incomplete, so somebody has to implement this method. So I have this class, let's say it's a mobile, so I have mobile Android which implements mobile. So abstract class is extended and interface is implemented. Yeah, and when I say implement mobile, that means I have to implement all the abstract methods from the interface. So there are three methods here, four methods: turn on mechanism, turn off mechanism, navigation back, and vibration mechanism. So all the four methods are implemented. Now when it is implemented, basically I am implementing, so I will use this overriding. So this is the concept which we also discussed in polymorphism. So polymorphism by interface, runtime polymorphism by interface. So this is an example for that. Now I have implemented this, and now I can start using those methods and start creating an object. Now there are two things here. One is mobile Android class object. Okay, so this is the child class which is mobile Android. So left hand side is variable of the child class equal to new variable of the child class. So perfectly simple case, and you can call this method. Now if you see here, the second example is variable of the parent interface. So here if you see mobile Android org equal to new mobile Android. mobile Android org equal to new mobile Android. So left hand side is basically a variable of an interface. So variable of an interface is allowed, but you cannot create an instance of the interface. So right hand side is basically I have created an object of the class itself. So this is allowed. This is perfectly fine. So there are two ways here. One is you create an object of the child class, uh, variable of the child class, or variable of the interface. Both are allowed. Okay, let's just run this first part and let us see if it runs. Right, so it is running, and same thing for here. It will be the same thing except that I have used a different variable to call the methods. Right. Now same thing applies to mobile iOS. So I have implemented this thing and I can run the same class with different variables. Now the question is, why do we need an interface? Now if you see here, there are multiple functionality, multiple classes or multiple entities who wants to use or implement similar functionality, right? So there are multiple vendors who can manufacture mobile, Android, iOS, Windows, BlackBerry and all. So we can have a an interface which has very common methods, that this is what every implementation should have, but in an interface it is not fully complete. So you should have this kind of functionality, but how do you implement it, that is up to you. Let's say this back key. So let's say this turn on and off mechanism. So in Android we have one button, or we can nowadays we can do a double tap on the screen also. Now on iOS it's a different thing. So when we press the power button and maybe the one more volume key, then you can turn on the device or turn off the device, whereas in Android it is just one button. Similarly for back key, so in Android we can have the back key at the bottom left, bottom right, but in iOS it is on the top left, and something like that. So the point here is something which is overall defined, overall declared, but the implementation is left up to the child classes how they want to do it. Only thing is they should have these methods implemented. So that is why we need interface. Okay, now there are two caveats here. So since Java 8, we can have default and static methods in an interface. And since Java 9 version, we can have private methods in an interface. So this is a slight change. Right, so this is one of the very important question, and very high priority to be asked in an interview for junior level, senior level, or even tech lead level. What is the difference between abstract and interface? So there are 10 differences. Let's see. Abstract can have non-abstract or complete method, but interface cannot have non-abstract or complete method. So remember, interface is basically 100% abstract class. That means everything is abstract, everything is not implemented. So there is no complete method in interface. Now abstract can have non-final variable, but in an interface it is mandatory to have all the variables as public, static and final. Right? Abstract can use access modifier like private, protected, but in an interface everything is public. Okay, cannot use usual access modifiers, or in other words, in an interface everything is open, everything is public. Now abstract can extend another Java class or implement an interface. Okay, so abstract class can extend another class. This is fine. It can implement another interface also. That is also fine. But interface can implement another interface only and cannot implement any method at all. So a rule of thumb is, in an interface you cannot implement anything. You can extend other things and you can use it, but that is basically uh, not no implementation is possible. Now abstract class can contain main method, and the same can be invoked. Okay, but here there cannot, no method can be invoked because everything is abstract. So even if you have a main method here, first thing is it is not allowed. But even if you have main method, that should be an abstract method, so that is not allowed. Now we can inherit only one abstract class, one Java abstract class. So One Java abstract class can inherit only another Java abstract class, that is only one. But interface can implement multiple Java interfaces. This is allowed. So abstract is little faster and this is relatively slower than abstract. This is a relative and debatable question, that which is slower, which is faster. But if you see here, abstract class can have something which is implemented. So that is why some implementation is left and some implementation is done. So the child class can, just implement the small part, the abstract part, the abstract method, and can continue. But in this case, in an interface, the child class has to implement all the methods, so that is why it is relatively slow. Now it can contain constructor, it cannot contain a constructor. Why? Because this cannot be implemented, this cannot be instantiated. There is no method which is complete, so constructor is not allowed. Now child class extends parent, which is abstract class, and child class implements abstract class. So extends keyword and implements keyword. Now, abstract class can have static and final method. Here, cannot have final method, but can have static method, but abstract method. So this is also correct. You can have static and final method in abstract class. Right. So now let us see uh, remaining discussion in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.